Commander Thalrix couldn't believe what he was seeing on his scanner. He had been stationed at the Outer Rim border checkpoint for 15 years, and nothing ever happened out here. It was the most boring assignment in the entire Galactic Empire. Every day was the same. Ships would come, he'd check their documents, and they'd move along. But today was different. His second-in-command, Officer Vren, rushed over to his station. "Sir, are you seeing this?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. Thalrix nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the display. "I see it, but I don't understand it." On the screen in front of them was a vessel moving through space at impossible speeds. Their instruments showed it traveling faster than anything they had ever recorded. Even the Empire's most advanced military ships couldn't move that fast. The readings had to be wrong. "Run a diagnostic on all systems," Thalrix ordered. "There must be a malfunction." Vren's fingers flew across her console. After a few moments, she looked up with confusion written all over her face. "Sir, all systems are functioning perfectly. The readings are accurate." Thalrix felt his stomach tighten. In all his years of service, he had never encountered anything like this. "Hail the vessel. Demand identification immediately." The communications officer opened a channel. "Unidentified vessel. This is Imperial Border Station 793. Identify yourself and state your purpose." For a moment there was only static. Then a voice came through, speaking in a language that made the universal translator struggle. The words came out choppy and unclear, but eventually the system processed them. "This is Earth Vessel Odyssey. We request passage through your territory." The entire command center went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at the communications panel. "Earth?" Vren whispered. "That's impossible." Thalrix knew exactly what she meant. Earth was that primitive planet on the far edge of the galaxy. The Empire had sent scouts there decades ago, and the reports had been clear. The humans were barely capable of leaving their own atmosphere. They were still using chemical rockets and radio waves. They were at least 500 years away from developing proper space travel. "There must be some mistake," Thalrix said, though his voice lacked confidence. "Humans don't have spacecraft. They can barely reach their own moon." "Sir, should I deny their request?" the communications officer asked. Thalrix thought for a moment. Something wasn't right here. If this really was a human vessel, then everything they knew about Earth was wrong. And if it wasn't, then someone was using their identity for some reason. Either way, this was way above his pay grade. "Send an emergency signal to High Command," he ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them we have a situation that requires immediate attention." Within the hour, 3 massive Imperial battlecruisers appeared near the checkpoint. These weren't ordinary patrol ships. They were the pride of the Imperial fleet, each one capable of destroying an entire planet. Their hulls gleamed with advanced armor plating, and their weapons could turn asteroids into dust. Thalrix felt relieved when Admiral Threnkor's face appeared on his screen. The Admiral was a legend in the fleet, known for his tactical brilliance and his no-nonsense approach to problems. "Commander, report," the Admiral said, his 4 eyes narrowing. Thalrix explained everything he had observed. The impossible speeds, the strange identification, and the primitive planet that supposedly sent this vessel. As he spoke, he watched the Admiral's expression change from confidence to confusion. "Show me the vessel," Threnkor demanded. When the image appeared on screen, everyone gasped. The ship was small, barely larger than a personal transport. Compared to the massive battlecruisers that had just arrived, it looked like a toy. But there was something about its design that was completely alien. The materials it was made from seemed to shimmer and shift in ways that didn't make sense. "That design doesn't match any known technology," one of the Admiral's officers said. "I've never seen anything like it." Threnkor studied the vessel carefully. "It's too small to be a threat. Open a channel. Let's see who these supposed humans really are." The screen flickered and a face appeared. It was definitely human. There was no mistaking those features. She looked young with dark eyes and short black hair. She wore a simple blue uniform with a patch on her shoulder that showed a blue and green planet. "I am Captain Jiwoo of the Earth Vessel Odyssey," she said in clear, confident tones. The universal translator was working much better now. "We come in peace and request passage through this sector." Threnkor leaned forward. "I am Admiral Threnkor of the Galactic Empire. According to our records, Earth is a pre-spacefaring civilization. You shouldn't even have the technology to leave your own star system." Captain Jiwoo smiled slightly. "Your records are outdated, Admiral. Humanity has made significant progress in recent years." "Significant progress?" Threnkor's voice rose. Our last survey was conducted 37 standard years ago. No species advances from chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel in that time frame. It's impossible. Apparently not, Jiwoo replied calmly. The Admiral's patience was wearing thin. I don't know who you are or what game you're playing, but this sector is under Imperial control. No vessel passes without proper authorization. We have authorization, Jiwoo said. She pressed something off-screen, and a document appeared on the Imperial ship's displays. The Milky Way Free Passage Accords, signed by 17 independent civilizations. Article 4 clearly states that any peaceful vessel has the right to traverse open space. Threnkor stared at the document. He had never heard of these accords. None of the 17 signatures belonged to civilizations the Empire had recent contact with. 3 of them were species the Empire had lost communication with over a decade ago. These accords have no legal standing, he said, though uncertainty crept into his voice. The Empire does not recognize them. Perhaps the Empire should update its diplomatic database, Jiwoo suggested. The galaxy is bigger than you think, Admiral? Something about her tone irritated Threnkor. This human, from a planet that should still be playing with primitive satellites, was lecturing him about galactic politics. It was unacceptable. Retrius Admiral Threnkor had dealt with smugglers, pirates, and rebels throughout his long military career. He knew how to handle difficult situations. But this human captain was unlike anyone he had ever encountered. She showed no fear, no nervousness. She simply sat in her chair, waiting patiently for his response. Captain Jiwoo, he said, trying to sound authoritative. I'm going to give you one chance to explain yourself. Where did you really get this ship? Who built it for you? Jiwoo tilted her head slightly. Admiral, I'm not sure I understand your question. Humans built this ship. Our engineers, our scientists, our workers. Is that so hard to believe? Yes, Threnkor said bluntly. It's completely impossible. We have detailed records of your planet's technological level. You were still using combustion engines for transportation. Your computers were primitive. Your understanding of physics was elementary at best. Jiwoo emphasized the word. Past tense, Admiral. Things change. Species evolve. Technology advances. One of Threnkor's officers, a young tactical specialist named Kren, spoke up. Sir, I've been analyzing their ship's energy signature. It doesn't match anything in our database. The power output alone is beyond our current understanding. The Admiral felt a cold sensation run through his body. He had been in space long enough to know when something didn't add up. Either this human was telling the truth, which would mean everything the Empire believed about Earth was wrong, or this was some kind of elaborate deception. Captain Jiwoo, I'm ordering you to power down your vessel and prepare to be boarded for inspection, Threnkor said firmly. If you refuse, I will consider it an act of aggression. Jiwoo's expression didn't change. Admiral, with respect, we will not be powering down. We've committed no crime. We've threatened no one. We're simply passing through this region of space, which is our legal right according to the accords I've shown you. Those accords mean nothing. Threnkor's voice echoed through the bridge. This is Imperial space and I am the authority here. You will comply or face the consequences. For the first time, Jiwoo's friendly demeanor shifted. Her eyes hardened and her voice took on an edge. Admiral, I came here hoping for a peaceful exchange. I was hoping the Galactic Empire would be reasonable. But if you're threatening us, then I need to be very clear about something. She leaned forward in her chair. The Odyssey is not a warship. We're explorers, diplomats. But we are not defenseless. And we will not be bullied. Threnkor had heard enough. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their engines. Fire a warning shot. Show them we're serious. Yes, sir, the weapons officer responded, his fingers dancing across the targeting controls. The battlecruiser's main plasma cannon charged up, its energy building to devastating levels. On the view screen, everyone watched as a bolt of superheated plasma shot through space, aimed to pass just above the small human vessel. What happened next would be talked about in Imperial military academies for years to come. The Odyssey moved. But it didn't move like any ship they had ever seen. It didn't accelerate gradually or turn slowly. It simply wasn't where it had been. In less than a second, the small vessel had repositioned itself completely, as if it had teleported. The plasma bolt sailed harmlessly through empty space. What just happened? Threnkor demanded. Sir, the vessel performed an instantaneous position change, Kren reported, his voice filled with disbelief. No acceleration phase, no visible propulsion. It just moved. On the view screen, Jiwoo's face remained calm, but there was disappointment in her eyes. That was unwise, Admiral. Impossible, Threnkor muttered. Scan them again. Find out how they did that. The science officers worked frantically, but their instruments couldn't explain what they had witnessed. The laws of physics as the Empire understood them didn't allow for what the human ship had just done. Jiwoo spoke again. Admiral, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding here. You seem to believe that humanity is still crawling around our home planet, looking up at the stars and dreaming. That's not who we are anymore. She pressed a button on her console. Let me show you something. Consider this a gesture of goodwill so you understand exactly who you're dealing with. Sir, they're powering up their engines, the tactical officer warned. All ships, raise shields and prepare to fire, Threnkor ordered. But before any of the battlecruisers could respond, the Odyssey vanished. Not slowly, not gradually. It simply disappeared from their sensors completely. Where did they go? Threnkor shouted. Unknown, sir. They're not showing up on any of our scans, the sensor operator replied, panic creeping into his voice. For 30 seconds, the three massive battlecruisers floated in space, searching desperately for the small human vessel. Their most advanced sensors, capable of detecting a single ship from light years away, found nothing. Then Jiwoo's voice came through the speakers again. Looking for us, Admiral? Every screen on every Imperial ship suddenly showed the same image. The Odyssey was now positioned directly behind Threnkor's flagship, close enough that they could see it through the rear observation windows. How did you get behind us? Threnkor asked, though he already knew no one had an answer. That's not all, Jiwoo said. Check your long-range sensors. Focus on the coordinates I'm sending you now. The science team did as she instructed. What they found made several officers gasp audibly. The sensors showed the Odyssey in a completely different star system, over 30 light-years away. That's impossible, Threnkor said, but his voice had lost its confidence. Our fastest ships take 6 hours to travel 30 light-years. I know, Jiwoo replied. I'm reading your technical specifications right now. Your FTL drives are impressive for their time, but they're fundamentally limited by your understanding of spacetime mechanics. The image shifted, and once again the Odyssey appeared on their sensors, this time back in its original position near the checkpoint. We just traveled 60 light-years in less than 3 seconds, Jiwoo explained. 30 light-years out and 30 light-years back. Our journey from Earth to this location took us 4 days. By your technology, that same journey would take approximately 3 months. The bridge had gone completely silent. Every officer, every crew member stood frozen, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Commander Thalrix, watching from his checkpoint station, felt his entire worldview crumbling. The humans weren't just spacefaring. They weren't just advanced. They had somehow leapfrogged centuries of technological development and created something the Empire had never even dreamed of. Admiral, Kren said quietly, if they can move like that, our weapons are useless. We couldn't hit them if we tried. And we certainly couldn't catch them if they decided to leave. Threnkor knew his officer was right. The demonstration had been clear. The human ship could go anywhere, anytime, and there was absolutely nothing the Imperial fleet could do about it. Admiral Threnkor stood on his bridge, staring at the view screen where Captain Jiwoo waited patiently. His pride told him to order another attack, to show this human that the Galactic Empire didn't back down from anyone. But his tactical training told him something different. He was outmatched, and continuing this confrontation would only embarrass the Empire further. Captain Jiwoo, he finally said, his voice measured and careful. You've made your point. Your vessel has capabilities we weren't aware of. But I still have questions that need answers. Jiwoo nodded. I understand, Admiral. I'm willing to answer your questions. That's why we came here in the first place. We're not trying to hide anything from the galaxy. We just want to be recognized as equals. Equals? The word came out harsher than Threnkor intended. The Galactic Empire has existed for over 2,000 years. We've brought peace and order to millions of worlds. And you expect to be treated as equals after barely leaving your home planet? Yes, Jiwoo replied simply. Because technological capability isn't measured by how long you've had it. It's measured by what you can do with it right now in this moment. Officer Kren stepped closer to the Admiral. Sir, with your permission, I'd like to ask the captain a question. Threnkor gestured for him to proceed. Captain, how is this possible? Kren asked, his curiosity overcoming his military training. Our records show that humans discovered electricity only 200 years ago. You were using wooden ships on your oceans 300 years ago. How did you advance so quickly? Jiwoo smiled, and for the first time she seemed genuinely pleased by a question. That's a fair question, and it deserves an honest answer. Humans have one characteristic that defines us more than anything else. We don't accept limitations. She stood up from her captain's chair and walked closer to her view screen. 70 years ago, something happened on Earth. An unmanned probe from an unknown civilization crashed in our Pacific Ocean. We recovered it, and our scientists studied it for decades. Threnkor leaned forward. You reverse-engineered alien technology. Partially, Jiwoo admitted. But here's the interesting part. Most species, when they find advanced technology, they simply copy it. They replicate what they see without fully understanding how it works. Humans did something different. We broke down every component, studied every principle, and asked ourselves why it worked the way it did. She pulled up a holographic display showing complex mathematical equations and diagrams. We didn't just copy the technology. We understood it. And once we understood it, we improved it. The probe we found had a basic faster-than-light drive. It could travel at about twice the speed that your ships currently achieve. But when we understood the underlying physics, we realized the design was inefficient. Inefficient? Kren echoed, amazed. Your ship moves instantaneously. Exactly, Jiwoo confirmed. The original alien probe used a compression field to fold space gradually. It worked, but it was slow and required enormous amounts of energy. Our scientists theorized that if you could create multiple compression points simultaneously and link them through quantum entanglement, you could effectively eliminate travel time altogether. Officer Vren, listening from the checkpoint station, whispered to Commander Thalrix. Sir, I don't understand half of what she's saying, but it sounds like they've discovered something revolutionary. Thalrix nodded grimly. They haven't just discovered it. They've weaponized it. Not with guns or missiles, but with capability. They've made every other ship in the galaxy obsolete. Back on the flagship, Admiral Threnkor was thinking the same thing. Captain Jiwoo, you mentioned a coalition earlier. Other species that have signed these accords. Are you telling me that humans have been sharing this technology? We have, Jiwoo confirmed. Not with everyone and not without conditions. We share our propulsion technology with species that agree to certain principles. Peaceful exploration, fair trade, mutual respect, and a commitment to scientific advancement. And how many species have agreed to these terms? Threnkor asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. 17 so far, as you saw in the Accords. But we're in negotiations with 12 more. The galaxy is changing, Admiral. There are species out there who were tired of waiting centuries for permission to explore beyond their borders. We've given them the freedom to reach the stars in days instead of years. The implications hit Threnkor like a physical blow. The Empire controlled trade routes, diplomatic relations, and military power because they controlled faster-than-light travel. Every species that wanted to engage in interstellar commerce had to use Imperial-approved routes and pay Imperial fees. But if humans were giving away superior technology to anyone who asked, the entire foundation of Imperial power was crumbling. This is economic warfare, Threnkor said quietly. No, Jiwoo corrected him. This is evolution. The Empire had centuries to help younger species develop. Instead, you kept them dependent on you. You charged fees for using your trade routes. You made them pay for protection they didn't need. You created a system where the Empire benefited while everyone else stayed limited. She crossed her arms. We're not attacking the Empire, Admiral. We're simply offering an alternative. If your system was fair, if you treated other species as partners instead of subjects, then our technology wouldn't be a threat to you. Kren spoke up again. Captain, may I ask another question? What do you want from us? Why come here at all? You could have avoided our territory entirely. Because isolation isn't the answer, Jiwoo explained. We don't want to create a new empire that replaces the old one. We want cooperation. We want every species in this galaxy to have the opportunity to reach their full potential. That includes the Empire. Threnkor scoffed. You're offering to help us? We have the largest fleet in the galaxy. A fleet that's now technologically outdated, Jiwoo pointed out gently. Admiral, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to help you see reality. The Empire can continue as it is, holding on to old technology and old ways of thinking. Or it can adapt, learn, and grow alongside the rest of the galaxy. The Admiral felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced it down. Everything Jiwoo said was true, and that made it worse. The Empire's strength had always been its technological superiority. Now that advantage was gone. Let me demonstrate something else, Jiwoo said. Something that might interest your military mind, Admiral. She nodded to someone off-screen. Suddenly, the space around the Odyssey shimmered. A barrier of some kind appeared, visible only because of how it bent the light around it. This is our defensive shield, Jiwoo explained. It's based on the same principles as our propulsion system. It creates a localized space-time distortion around our vessel. A shield? Drenkor asked. We have shields. Every ship in the galaxy has defensive shields. Not like this, Jiwoo said. She pulled up another display. Your shields absorb energy and disperse it across the shield matrix. When enough damage accumulates, the shield fails. Our shield works differently. It doesn't absorb attacks. It redirects them into compressed space. The attack never actually touches our ship. She looked directly at the Admiral. Go ahead. Fire at us with your most powerful weapon. I'll prove it. 3 days after the encounter at the border checkpoint, the Imperial High Council gathered on Krithia Prime, the Empire's capital world. The massive council chamber, built from crystalline structures that reached toward the sky, had witnessed countless important decisions throughout history. But none quite like what was about to unfold today. 12 council members sat in their designated seats, arranged in a perfect circle. Each represented a different region of the Empire, and each had received the full report from Admiral Threnkor. The recording of Captain Jiwoo's demonstration had been played repeatedly, analyzed frame by the Empire's best scientists. The conclusions were all the same. The humans had achieved something remarkable. Council Elder Vexron called the session to order. His silver scales reflected the light from the chamber's windows as he spoke. We are here to discuss the human situation. Before we begin deliberations, I want to hear from our head of intelligence. What have we learned about Earth in the past 72 hours? Intelligence Director Mira stood up, holding a data tablet that seemed tiny in her large hands. Council members, what we've discovered is deeply troubling. Our last detailed survey of Earth was conducted 73 years ago. At that time, humans had just begun launching primitive satellites into orbit around their planet. They were divided into numerous competing nations, constantly fighting among themselves. We classified them as pre-contact, not ready for galactic society. She swiped through her tablet, bringing up images on the holographic displays around the chamber. However, we now know that approximately 68 years ago, an unidentified probe crashed in Earth's ocean. We've searched our records and cannot determine which civilization sent it. The humans recovered this probe and somehow managed to reverse engineer the technology inside. Council member Thex interrupted. Surely that's impossible. Reverse engineering requires understanding principles that can take centuries to develop. How could they accomplish this in mere decades? Mira nodded. That's what makes this situation unique. According to the intelligence we've gathered from independent traders who have visited Earth, the humans didn't just copy the technology. They fundamentally understood it and then innovated beyond it. They've created something called quantum entangled propulsion. Our scientists are still trying to understand the basic theory behind it. Another council member, Zora, raised her hand. Director Mira, you said independent traders have visited Earth. How many are we talking about? At least 47 different vessels from 19 different species over the past 15 years, Mira replied. And that's only what we've been able to confirm. The actual number could be much higher. The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Council Elder Vexron had to call for order twice before the room quieted down. 15 years? Vexron said slowly. They've been engaging in trade for 15 years and we had no idea? The humans were careful, Mira explained. They only contacted independent species, worlds that operate outside imperial jurisdiction. They offered technology exchanges, cultural programs, and mutual defense agreements. They specifically avoided alerting us to their presence. Council member Court, who represented the military division, stood abruptly. This is unacceptable. They've been building a coalition behind our backs. This is clearly preparation for some kind of conflict. Or, said Council member Nessa, who represented the diplomatic corps, they were avoiding us because they knew we would react exactly as we're reacting now. With suspicion and hostility. Court turned to face her. They've developed technology that makes our entire fleet obsolete, Nessa. What else should we feel besides concern? Perhaps curiosity? Nessa suggested. Perhaps we should ask ourselves why 17 independent species chose to align with humans instead of seeking Empire protection. What does that say about us? The chamber fell silent. It was a question no one wanted to answer. Director Mira continued her briefing. There's more. We've confirmed that humans have established diplomatic relations with several species that the Empire lost contact with over the past 2 decades. The Velox Collective, the Harmonic Worlds, and even the Crystalline Assembly. The Crystalline Assembly? Vexron leaned forward. They cut all ties with us 12 years ago. We assumed they had isolated themselves. They didn't isolate, Mira said. They found better partners. According to our sources, the Crystalline Assembly now has access to human propulsion technology. They've explored 14 new star systems in the past year alone. Systems that would have taken them decades to reach with Imperial-approved drives. Council member Thex shook his head in disbelief. This changes everything. The entire structure of galactic trade, exploration, and defense was built on our technological advantage. If everyone has access to superior technology, what leverage do we have? None, said Court bluntly. Which is why we need to act quickly. We should demand that humans stop sharing their technology. If they refuse, we should consider military action. Military action? Nessa stood up, her voice rising. Did you watch the same recordings I did? The human vessel moved instantaneously across 30 light-years. Their shields make them invulnerable to our weapons. What exactly would military action accomplish besides making us look foolish? Court's face darkened. So you suggest we do nothing? We just accept that some upstart species has suddenly become more powerful than an empire that has existed for 2 millennia? I suggest we think before we act, Nessa replied. We're not the victims here. We had the opportunity to help these younger species develop. Instead, we charged them fees, restricted their exploration, and kept them dependent on us. The humans simply offered them a better deal. Another council member, Plex, spoke up for the first time. I've been reviewing the economic projections. If human technology continues to spread, we'll see a 30% reduction in trade route fees within 5 years. Within 10 years, our transportation monopoly will be completely worthless. The Empire's economy will collapse. Unless we adapt, said Council Member Yara, the youngest member of the council. We keep talking about what we're losing. Has anyone considered what we could gain? Vexron looked at her curiously. Explain. Yara stood, projecting confidence despite her youth. The humans aren't our enemies. They've made that clear. Captain Jiwoo specifically said they want cooperation. What if we approach them not as rivals but as partners? What if we offered to join their coalition? The suggestion caused an immediate uproar. Half the council members shouted in protest while the other half tried to speak over them. Vexron had to activate the chamber's sound-dampening field to restore order. That's absurd, Court declared. The Galactic Empire doesn't join coalitions. We lead them. We used to lead them, Yara corrected. But leadership isn't about having the biggest ships or the most territory. It's about inspiring others to follow. Right now, the humans are inspiring species across the galaxy. They're offering freedom, advancement, and partnership. What are we offering? Control, fees, and restrictions. Nessa nodded in agreement. Yara's right. We need to change our approach. The old methods aren't working anymore. Director Mira cleared her throat. There's one more thing the council should know. Our sources indicate that Captain Jiwoo is currently en route to Krithia Prime. She's requested an official audience with this council. Every eye in the chamber turned to Mira. She's coming here? Vexron asked. When? She should arrive within the next 6 hours, Mira replied. Her message stated that she wishes to present humanity's formal diplomatic proposal to the Empire. Court laughed bitterly. 6 hours? That's a journey that should take 3 weeks. Not anymore, Nessa said quietly. Not with their technology. Retrace Captain Jiwoo stood at the entrance of the Imperial Council chamber, taking in the magnificent architecture around her. The crystalline walls sparkled with thousands of colors, and the ceiling stretched so high it seemed to touch the clouds. This was the heart of the Galactic Empire, a place where decisions affecting trillions of lives were made every day. 2 Imperial guards, each standing over 7 feet tall, escorted her through the massive doorway. She walked calmly, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. The 12 council members watched her approach, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity, concern, and in some cases, barely hidden hostility. Council Elder Vexron gestured to a platform in the center of the chamber. Captain Jiwoo of Earth, you have requested this audience. The High Council recognizes you. You may speak. Jiwoo bowed respectfully before stepping onto the platform. Honored council members, thank you for receiving me. I know my presence here is unexpected, and I know the discovery of humanity's advancement has caused considerable concern within the Empire. I'm here to address those concerns directly. Council Member Court spoke first, his voice sharp. Concern is putting it mildly, Captain. You've destabilized centuries of established order. You've shared advanced technology with species that weren't ready for it. You've created a coalition that operates outside imperial authority. Some might call that an act of aggression. And I would call it progress, Jiwoo replied calmly. With respect, Council Member, the species we've partnered with were absolutely ready for advancement. They were simply never given the opportunity. They weren't given the opportunity because they hadn't earned it, Court countered. The Empire has always believed that technological advancement should be gradual, controlled, and supervised. Jiwoo smiled slightly. Controlled by whom? Supervised by whom? The Empire has positioned itself as the gatekeeper of progress, but what gives you that right? Every species in this galaxy has the potential for greatness. They don't need permission to reach for it. Council Member Yara leaned forward with interest. Captain Jiwoo, help us understand. How did humanity accomplish so much in such a short time? Our scientists have reviewed the data, and they say what you've achieved shouldn't be possible. That's because your scientists are thinking within the boundaries of conventional understanding, Jiwoo explained. Humans have a saying on our world. We say that the impossible is just something that hasn't been done yet. When we found that crashed probe 70 years ago, we faced a choice. We could have looked at the technology inside and said it was too advanced for us to understand. We could have locked it away and waited decades or centuries until we felt ready. She paused, looking at each council member in turn. But that's not who we are. Instead, we brought together the brightest minds from every nation on our planet. Scientists who had spent their lives competing with each other suddenly began cooperating. We shared knowledge freely. We challenged every assumption. We asked questions that seemed ridiculous and pursued answers that seemed impossible. Director Mira, who had been listening carefully, asked, "But how did you understand alien technology with such limited background knowledge?" "Because we weren't limited by existing frameworks," Jiwoo answered. "The Empire has been using the same basic faster-than-light principles for over 1,000 years. You've made improvements certainly, but you've never fundamentally questioned whether there might be a completely different approach. When humans studied that probe, we had no preconceptions about how space travel should work. We simply asked how it did work, and then we asked if there was a better way." Council Member Nessa nodded thoughtfully. "And you found that better way?" "We found one better way," Jiwoo corrected. "But we're not stopping there. Our scientists are already working on even more advanced concepts. The quantum entangled propulsion system we use now is just the beginning. In 5 years, we expect to develop technology that can open stable wormholes. In 10 years, we hope to achieve instantaneous communication across any distance." The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. The council members exchanged glances, some excited, others alarmed. Vexron spoke carefully. "Captain, you mentioned that you're here to address our concerns. What exactly are you proposing?" Jiwoo straightened her shoulders. "I'm proposing a partnership. Not one where humans replace the Empire as the dominant power. Not one where we control others or restrict their growth. But a true partnership where every species contributes what they can and benefits equally from the combined knowledge." "And what would this partnership look like?" Thex asked skeptically. "Humanity would share our propulsion technology with the Empire, freely and completely," Jiwoo stated. "No fees, no restrictions. In exchange, the Empire would share its vast experience in governance, diplomacy, and resource management. You've maintained peace across thousands of worlds for centuries. That knowledge is invaluable." Court stood abruptly. "You expect us to believe you'll just give us this technology? What's the catch?" "The catch is simple," Jiwoo replied. "The Empire must agree to 3 conditions. First, you must stop charging other species for access to trade routes and protection. Second, you must recognize all species as equals, regardless of their current technological level. And third, you must commit to sharing all future technological advances with the galactic community just as we do." "Impossible," Court declared. "You're asking us to give up our authority, our economic foundation, everything that makes the Empire strong." "No," Jiwoo said firmly. "I'm asking you to give up your control and embrace cooperation instead. The Empire can still be strong, stronger even than before. But that strength will come from partnership rather than dominance." Council Member Plex raised a concern. "Captain, even if we agreed to your terms, implementing such massive changes would take years, possibly decades. Our entire economy is built on the current system." "We understand that," Jiwoo acknowledged. "And we're prepared to help with the transition. Humanity has economic advisors, engineers, and diplomats ready to assist. We're not demanding overnight transformation. We're offering gradual, sustainable change." Yara spoke up enthusiastically. I support this proposal. The galaxy is evolving whether we like it or not. We can either evolve with it or be left behind. Or we could simply take what we want, Court suggested darkly. The Empire still has the largest military force in the galaxy. Perhaps we should focus on acquiring this human technology by other means. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Jiwoo's expression remained calm, but her voice carried an edge it hadn't before. Council Member Court, I'm going to be very direct with you. That would be the worst decision the Empire could possibly make. She pulled up a holographic display showing a star map. I told Admiral Threnkor that the Odyssey isn't a warship, and that's true. But Earth isn't defenseless. We have 47 vessels with capabilities similar to or greater than the Odyssey. We have defense platforms around our system that can detect any approaching ship from 300 light-years away. And most importantly, we have allies. The star map highlighted dozens of systems. Every species in our coalition has pledged mutual defense. If the Empire attacks humanity, you won't be fighting just us. You'll be fighting a united front of species who are tired of Imperial control. Court's face showed anger, but he sat down without responding. Vexron raised his hand for silence. Captain Jiwoo, this council needs time to deliberate. Your proposal is revolutionary, and such decisions cannot be made hastily. I understand, Jiwoo said. I'll remain on Krithia Prime for the next 3 days. After that, with or without your answer, I'll return to Earth. But I want to leave you with one final thought. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with each council member. The age of empires built on control and restriction is ending. The future belongs to cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect. Humanity didn't create this change alone. We simply accelerated what was already beginning. You have a choice now. You can resist and fade into irrelevance, or you can adapt and help build something greater than any empire has ever been.